How's it going, everyone? Landon with Late Model Restoration. In this video, I'm going to be tackling the tedious task of how you go about removing your factory K-member in a Fox Body Mustang. In all seriousness here, guys, removing the factory K-member in a Fox Mustang is easier than you think. Even without access to a lift, this job can be completed with a set of jack stands, a few jacks, an engine support bar, and a few common hand tools. Our little 88 coupe here is about to undergo a tubular K-member conversion, but before we can get it installed, the old heavy factory junk has got to get got. Now, this Fox is already in the early stages of drag racing trim since the front sway bar has been removed and it's been converted to manual steering. So if any of you are still rocking either of those, the easiest method of removal is to unbolt the rack from the K-member and use large zip ties to secure it to the front sway bar. Removing a factory K-member can be managed by yourself, but me personally, I would recommend the assistance from one of your friends. To begin, support the car via a lift or jack stands. Remove the drive belt if you're going to use the water pump studs as your support point. Assemble your support bar and position the chains over the studs. Use the appropriate nuts to secure the chains. Rotate the screw until the chains no longer have play or slack. Remove both front wheels. Remove the outer tie rod nut and strike the side of the spindle to free the outer tie rod. You can also use a joint separating tool. Do the same for the other side. Support the control arm with the jack. Remove the caliper to spindle retaining bolts. Remove the caliper from the rotor and then tie up the caliper out of your way. Remove the strut to spindle nuts, but leave the bolts in place. Now remove the cotter pin from the ball joint. Remove the castle nut. Pry off the dust cap from the rotor. Remove the cotter pin with a pair of needle nose pliers. Then remove the castle nut, followed by the spindle retaining nut. Slide off the washer and the outer bearing. Now remove the brake rotor. Remove the strut to spindle bolts and then lower the jack. Use caution since the spring could still be under load. Go ahead and remove the spring. Tap the spindle or use a joint separating tool to remove the spindle from the ball joint. In the engine bay, remove the strut shaft nut and then remove the strut from the car. Drill out the locating rivet from the upper strut mount plate. Remove the 3 18mm nuts and then remove the upper and lower plates from the car. Wipe down the area and then repeat these steps for the other side. To remove the lower control arm, remove the 2 nuts and bolts. Use a 21mm box end wrench on the front bolt head and 24mm deep socket on the nut. Let the control arm swing down and then remove the rear hardware with the 21mm socket on the head and 24mm deep socket on the nut. Remove the control arm from the car. Go ahead and do the same for the other side. Mark the steering shaft's orientation. Remove the hardware, securing the shaft. Remove the steering rack hardware, utilizing a 15mm socket on the bolt head and an 18mm deep socket on the nut. Pry out on the rack with a pry bar and then remove it from the K-member. If you're still running a power rack, now would be the time to position it out of your way and tie it to the sway bar. Verify your support bar is good to go. For added insurance, support the balancer or the oil pan with a jack and a block of wood. Detach or remove any wiring harness that is secured to the K-member, whether it be via push pin or zip tie. Remove the rear K-member hardware first. These are 15mm bolts and there are 2 per side. Remove both motor mount nuts with a 21mm socket. Then remove the front bolts. These are 18mm bolts and they're also 2 per side. To finish things off, have a friend help you remove the K-member. This will complete the needed steps to remove the factory K-member from your Fox Body Mustang. As far as removal time is concerned, I would honestly set aside an afternoon to get this one done. There really isn't a set time because skill level is going to vary from person to person. Be sure your support bar is placed in a way that there is minimal stress on the chains and the support itself. A jack and a block of wood underneath the oil pan or the balancer wouldn't hurt either for some added insurance. That's going to wrap things up on the K-member removal process. Be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see what's next for this 88 coupe. For all things Fox Mustang, keep it right here with the real Fox Body enthusiasts, LMR Landan.com.